There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Chronicles. I'm your host, Max Rego, right here. Right in front of me, we have Mr. Jake Piazza, our sports editor here at the Chronicle. Jake, thanks for joining.
Max, happy to be here as always.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you coming on. So first off, shout out to the soccer programs here at Duke. We're recording here on a Sunday, so we were just at the women's soccer game that ended at around 8 o'clock here. They beat St. John's in the Sweet 16 7-1. An absurd performance. That was a complete thrill ride. I wasn't able to make it to the men's game earlier today, but they beat UCLA in a tight win, 2-1, two last minute goals. So obviously those two programs are really rolling into the postseason, and this is obviously a Duke basketball podcast, but we wanted to shout out a couple of the other sports here at Duke that are really showing out in the fall and as we move into the winter. So obviously let's break down the week for the Blue Devils. A couple basketball games, a couple basketball related things with the two games over the past few days. But obviously, we have to talk about last weekend's incident involving Michael Savarino and Paolo Banchero, two players on the team. So let's get right into it, just reporting the facts and what happened. So at 1:10 a.m. Sunday morning, Saturday night, bleeding into Sunday morning last week, Michael Savarino was arrested by North Carolina Highway Patrol for driving while impaired and is charged with DWI, driving after drinking alcohol under the age of 21, and a stop sign violation. Savarino was driving a 2017 Jeep SUV. Paolo Banchero, who was in the car but was not driving, was charged with aiding and abetting DWI before being released at the site of the traffic stop. Aiding and abetting DWI, according to North Carolina state law, is when someone knowingly advises, instigates, encourages, or aids another person to drive while impaired, and his actions cause or contribute to the commission of the crime. So, and this must be noted that the car was registered to Banchero, a 2017 Jeep SUV. Banchero as a passenger in the backseat of the vehicle. And per the NC Highway Patrol spokesman, Sergeant Christopher Knox, said that he stopped Savarino for a stop sign violation at the intersection of Bushy Cook Road and West 10 Road outside Hillsborough nearby, and saw signs of impairment, according to the News and Observer report, and Savarino's blood alcohol content was 0.08. So Jake, obviously, very disappointing, sad news obviously coming out last week. What are your takeaways from the situation, and what are your thoughts?
I mean, obviously it's not a situation that you would want to see anyone as a member of any athletics program or just in general a part of. But I will say, just to further update on this scenario, there has been no punishments in the form of suspension or anything else issued at this time of us filming. They both, as in Banchero and Savarino, have court dates for early December. I do not know what that means in terms of how the team is necessarily going to approach when and if a punishment is going to be issued. But I will say on Tuesday evening, as you know, Mac, when Duke did have a game against Gardner-Webb, Banchero was with the team, played, started like normal. Savarino was not with the team Tuesday, and that also continued Friday. I don't know exactly what that means, not speculating or implying anything with that, but that is just the current update on the full Banchero-Savarino situation. Yeah,
that kind of runs it down for us. Obviously, Coach K talked a little bit about it in his press conference Tuesday night. He was asked about it, and he basically said the reasoning for Banchero starting while Savarino not being with the team currently is being two different situations, and that's obviously the case. They're different charges, aiding and abetting versus DWI. But it seems that Savarino is away from the team right now. He has not been on the bench the last couple games. A couple players talked about it Tuesday night. I just think at the end of the day, we obviously had to address it. We couldn't record this podcast without talking about it. And ultimately, it shows just how careful people need to be. And obviously, drinking and driving is obviously a serious issue, and it's obviously something that we need to address. And obviously, we're college students, but we know the impact that it has on other people, and we obviously felt like it needed to be addressed. So we wanted to talk about that a little bit, but obviously that was not all that happened this week for Duke. 2 wins, Gardner-Webb, Lafayette. Obviously 2, somewhat, simple, straightforward games. But 2, obviously, a lot of takeaways from both. For me, at least, I really liked seeing their defensive rotations, their ability to switch. They were able to play really, really good pick and roll defense, which I thought was very impressive. But Jake, you were covering the game Friday night against Lafayette. You were not covering Tuesday, but obviously we obviously both watched the game. So what are your takeaways? Let's first start with the game Friday night against Lafayette, since you were there. What are your takeaways from that?
Well, I will start with something that you mentioned with the defense, because that is something that definitely stood out to me, especially in that first half when the shooting was abysmal for the Blue Devils. But I want to single out a player that is maybe not getting as much attention as a lot of the other guys on this team, considering just how much talent this roster has. But
is it Keenan Worthington?
It is not Keenan. We do love Keenan, but it's not Keenan. But I wanted to talk about Theo John. I mean, what he brings to this roster in terms of the first of all, the pressure taken off of Mark Williams, and the fact that if he does get into a little bit of foul trouble, it's not the end of the world. You have a guy like Theo that can come in, play a lot of minutes off the bench, contribute certainly on defense, and he's definitely flashed some offensive ability, although it is definitely not to the level of Mark. But I do think that's a guy that is going to be very, very important throughout this Blue Devil run. How about you, Max? Agree, disagree?
I agree. I mean, he definitely has shown a lot of what I expected coming in. I expected him to be a good rim protector. I expected him to be an energy guy off the bench, getting offensive rebounds, putbacks, looking when he gets an offensive rebound, he can put it up, but he also is unselfish and he's looking to find other shooters. I am impressed, though. He has surprised me at least a little bit. I mean, he's maybe more athletic than people gave him credit for. I mean, he's a good rim protector, but he can play the pick and roll. He can switch on the guys, or he can hedge a little bit and recover.
Strength too. Yeah, I didn't mean to jump in, but that strength was as advertised. I'm watching him in the low post, and guys trying to back him down, and it's not happening. The base is planted, and I know that they haven't necessarily been up against outside of Shibwe, real big guys, but that the strength has been as advertised for Theo John.
Yeah, there's no other way to put it. He's a beast. Like he's massive, and they haven't had that type of guy to come off the bench. I mean, they had a little bit of that with Javin DeLaurier, Marquise Bolden. I mean, Marquise Bolden started a little bit, but they haven't had that type of rim protection. And I feel like in a couple years, at least off the bench. Mark Williams obviously came off the bench last year. That was different. He was kind of a developmental guy that kind of embraced his role later in the year and then started to get more starting opportunities. But yeah, I was really impressed with Theo John. I feel like the one thing, and Jake, I know you wanted to talk about this, was, it came in late Friday night. It was kind of there were some takeaways, but the biggest takeaway kind of reared its head late. He's been, lingering. He's been lingering outside for now, but Friday night he was fully loitering. AJ Griffin, he exploded in like a 3-minute stretch of just like, I looked up and I was like, oh wait, he did another 3? He just did it again? Like, that was ridiculous. So Jake, what were your takeaways on AJ Griffin just kind of entering the conversation? He's entered the chat.
That's a great way to put it. I think what we see is, or what we got to see, is AJ Griffin being AJ Griffin. All the preseason buzz about this kid is a potential lotto pick, just absolutely unreal on the basketball court. We got to see it on Friday night, and I think I probably watched the video. I think it was his second 3-pointer, the one where he's on the wing, jab step through the legs, step back, and hits it like it's nothing, like he's in his backyard playing horse with his buddies, and like it's no big deal. Probably watched that 25 times after the game, just kind of taking in this kid's the real deal, and shooting 4 for 6 from beyond the arc, and he showed it off from all 3 levels. I think he only hit 1 from the mid-range at the elbow, but went inside. He showed it all, and I think obviously the name of the game is it can't just be every once in a while thing for this Duke team to be a New Orleans bound team for me, but man, that was encouraging on Friday, Max.
Yeah. I mean, it was really impressive. He hasn't played. I mean, he didn't play his last 2 years in high school. He was in Tampa, I believe, because his dad's an assistant with the Raptors. So then they were down in Tampa because of the travel restrictions because of COVID. And he was just kind of working on his body. He had some injuries to deal with, and then he dealt with his knee injury back in early October, and it was just during a practice, and like people thought that he had busted his knee or something like that, but it was thankfully it wasn't overly serious. He was back for the exhibition game, but he played a little bit against Kentucky, and I feel like he's been getting more involved in the offense, and he's kind of been just used as like a slasher and a guy who can play off the ball, but now he's handling a little bit. And Coach K, it was weird. I was watching Coach K's 2 press conferences from this week post game the other night, and I honestly thought I had clicked the same video because Coach K, he said the same thing about Griffin. Is he's got a very soft shot. I was like, wait, am I watching the same video? I was like, what is going on here? But no, it was different videos. He mentioned it the same thing 2 different times, which is really interesting because he has like a really nice shot. He has like one of the prettier shots on the team, I think.
Smooth.
It's very
effortless.
smooth. Like there will be guys who will probably end up with better percentages. Trevor Keels probably, Jeremy Roach, Paolo has been shooting the ball okay from 3. He's at 27%. AJ, I would assume shoots the ball probably a little better than that, but. He's shooting 46% from the year, which smaller sample size and kind of skewed a little bit by that run late on Friday, but it's still impressive. Yeah, it's just a very smooth shot, and he's getting that role. Coach K mentioned that he's getting to the point where he's at the level of the starters. He's not there yet. He said this on Tuesday. He's not there yet, but he's getting there. He's getting healthier. He's getting acclimated in the offense. He's coming. He's here, and he's 100 and his offensive rating is 126.1, which is very, very good, and his defensive rating is 80.1, which is also very good, very impressive. So he's very versatile. He helps them switch on defense, and he helps them space the floor a little bit offensively. And if they want to do a lineup of Paolo and the 4 shooters of Wendell, Jeremy, Trevor, and AJ. They can do it because he can shoot the ball and he can run the floor, and they really like to run, which helps with AJ. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, can you imagine this too? I think AJ is going to get to a level where you want him on the court all the time. But the fact that you can just stagger Wendell and AJ and have one of 2 of those guys on the court the entire game, I mean, come on, if they were both firing on all cylinders like the way we've seen Wendell in all the games this season and the way AJ did toward the end, I mean, AJ Griffin as a 6th man, like that's ridiculous, really, to say the least.
Yeah. He's still probably going to be a lottery pick. Like, really, no, in my opinion, like no matter how like good or bad the season goes for him, because he's just so physically gifted. He can jump out of the gym and he can shoot it, and he can play defense. He's a good defender. At least he's got like the length and he's got the athleticism to stick on his man, and he's a good enough help defender because of that as well. But he will be a lottery pick, and he's coming off the bench for this team because another thing that I think we have to shift to is like this team is very unique, and I think I talked about this a little bit last week on our podcast, but I really like how this team is built and how it's constructed. I think they have the right mix of old and new, and I think they have the right mix of shooting, slashing, defenders, ball handlers. Our colleague over at The Athletic, Brendan Marks, wrote a great article on how Duke is taking dubbed it like an all handlers approach to the point guard position. How like Roach, Keels, and Moore are all kind of switching with the ball, switching the ball handling duties, which I thought was really interesting because if you look at the numbers, like they're all handling it like very similar amounts, and the offense is doing pretty well. I think that it's safe to say that the defense has been their strength so far. I mean, they are locking people down.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's against other than Kentucky. And Campbell, I would say, is definitely the second best team they've played. It isn't against like the most robust sample size, but we'll see later this week with some games coming up. But and they are able to get into their sets quicker. They're able to push it. Like they're a better transition team according to the stats, which Brennan cited in his article. According to Synergy, I believe, they are better in transition offensively than they are in the half court. On like a per possession basis, which makes a lot of sense because this is an athletic team and a versatile team, and when you got guys like Paolo and Wendell Moore who can get out and run, they're really good at that.
Well, Mark and Theo are even running the floor now too. I mean, Theo multiple times, and I should say Mark too, but they have all 5 guys in the court where they don't even need to set up in the half court, and they are still perfectly capable of running in transition and getting a relatively effortless basket. Like you said, that's kind of a testament to the uniqueness of the way this roster was assembled. And then one other thing, Max, I wanted to add on kind of roster setup. This is legitimately a 9-man rotation right now, and it doesn't necessarily feel like, oh, this is a 9-man rotation because it's, November 22nd, and that's just the way it is. 21st.
About to be 22nd.
And that's something that, I mean, being able to go 9 guys deep, ACC play is brutal. Guys are going to be banged up. There's a lot going on. So being able to have that to lean back in on with a defense that, like you said, I know it's not against, necessarily contenders, but I think something that's been encouraging for me is the Duke defense has been so good, not just because they are just stealing the ball a ton, which they are. They're getting a very healthy number of steals. But something that's encouraging to me, and this happened on Friday, is the possessions where their opponent is taking care of the ball and running an offense and getting into sets. And Duke's defense is literally just forcing them to take bad shots because the shot clock is running out. And I think that just kind of is a testament and shows that the defense is not just good because these teams are handing the ball away. The defense is good because they're just playing fundamental basketball. Like you said, they're making the switches that need to be made, and they're just getting after it in an aggressive but controlled, correct manner.
Yeah, and they're finding the open guy, and they're pitching it ahead, and they're really maximizing those chances they have to run. I really think that if you look at it, if you break it down, this podcast always turns into a rotation talk from always the ones that Shane and Derek recorded. But if you look at the rotation, I mean, 9 guys. I know like Bates Jones is the 10th guy. He plays a little bit. I actually like what he's done so far. I think he's a good spot up guy, and his like per 100 possessions is kind of funny. It's hold on. His offensive rating when he's on the floor is 188.9. His per 100 possessions is 22 points and 12 rebounds. That's like...
And that's good?
Yeah. It's like the prime Dwight Howard numbers, but...
is that your comp?
No.
Too good of a shooter. Better shooter. Look,
mucho respect for Dwight, but Bates, I think Dwight, I think Bates got you. Yeah, so I mean, they probably have 9.5 man rotation. Shout out to 2.5 men, but so if you want to go with 9.5, whatever you want to call it, I think. I mean, Jalen Blake's is he could be that odd man out sometimes if you're going to make it a 9-man rotation, just because of the ability of Moore and Keels to spell Roach at the point guard spot. But I do think Jalen Blake should continue to be a guy on the floor, because I think he's kind of like Jordan Goldwire. He's a pit bull. Like he gets active. He was pressing the heck out of his man on Friday night against Lafayette. He was swiping at the ball. He's trying to create steals. Trying to create deflections. he's very active, and he's a great he hustles a lot, and I think he gives them a little bit of edge defensively with the second unit, which I think they need.
In games, like, I know that it's not going to be Duke winning by 30 as the season goes on, but it's like on Friday, Lafayette's losing by 20, and then Jalen Blakes is checking in the game with relatively fresh legs and just pestering all of the Lafayette players. I mean, that is such a pain as an opponent to have to match up with the Blue Devils like that.
Yeah, that's like, I was at the game, I was not covering it, but I kept looking over at the Lafayette coach, and I haven't seen a more exasperated man in a long time. Just because he kept rolling out these guys that were fresh and ready to attack his guards defensively. But yeah, I think Jalen Blakes is that ninth guy. I like his role on this team. I think he should continue to get those minutes, spelling Roach, and when they want to play Wendell Moore and Trevor Keels off the ball. Because I think Keels, he's been a little streaky. He's a streaky shooter. I think that's fair to call him that. But I think he's a good enough shooter that you can play him off ball, and he can spot up. He doesn't need the ball in his hands, and a guy like Blake can set him up a little bit. But yeah, and I think what's interesting to me is, we maybe talked about this a little bit before the season, and there was some chatter out among Blue Devil Twitter and fandom that they would be playing Theo John and Mark Williams. That hasn't really been the case. They've been switching off. So do you think there's any chance that we see Theo John and Mark Williams on the floor together? That would just be weird, right?
It would probably work against the Citadel tomorrow night, but I don't like that for as we get into legitimate ACC play, and especially not against Gonzaga and Ohio State. I don't think those two on the court. I know we said yes, or I had said they do run the floor better, but I think the strength of this team is having particularly 4 ball handlers and really just kind of one guy on the court that maybe does move up the court a little slower than the rest of the bunch. So having kind of taking away a ball handler and shooter for another big, I don't really see an upside to that. And I mean, I also would think if Krzyzewski hasn't rolled that out I guess they've played 5, but really only 4 games where you would have had a little time to tinker. I don't know that we're going to see it. I mean, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 games where I can say they can afford to maybe play around a little bit before things get real, but I really don't see a point for Theo and Mark at UMax. I don't know, it just feels off.
No, I think it's possible they do it for like some offense-defense substitutions late in games, and the strategy could play into
rebounding
that,
package.
Yeah, I guess if they're really getting killed on the glass, but they've been rebounding better the last couple games. They've really been boxing out well, and I think Theo's he's really good at sealing his man and allowing a guard to come in and to get that break started. So I don't think we'll see a lot of that. One thing I have noticed with the rotation is, and this probably doesn't come as too much of a surprise, but Joey Baker, when he's on the floor, it seems to me this doesn't feel. This is anecdotal coming from me, but I feel like the stats would bear this out. He's usually on the floor with Wendell Moore because he gets set up a lot from Wendell. Wendell knows where he's going to be. He needs like other creators, and Wendell Moore is like the best creator on this team.
Oh, absolutely.
And he like needs guys who can set him up, and he gets a lot of open looks off of drive and kick. He has been hitting all of them. He's been fine. I think Joey.
I need to see Joey hit more of those though.
Yeah, it was a bit of a struggle Friday night, but he can get hot. He played well Tuesday against Gardner Webb, but I don't think they're looking for much more than like what he did against Campbell. He had like 11 points, 5 rebounds.
He attacked the rim a little bit too.
He looks like he's improved a little bit in that department. He looks like he's got a little better handle, and he's strong with the ball. And he attacks the rim. I mean, he's got the confidence. I think that he knows his role, and he's getting more open looks than he got last year, because last year's team just wasn't really constructed for a guy like him. With like when you're running your offense through Matthew through Matthew Hurd, who was a great player, but you're not going to get a lot of open looks because he's not a dribble drive guy. He's not going to attack the basket and kick out. Trey Jones instead, or Vernon Carey, who's getting doubled and tripled in the post. You're going to get open shots off that. So that's why, I mean, how many open threes did Baker and Alex O'Connell get and Jack White get 2 years ago, 1920? So it's a little similar to that with Baker, I think, in terms of his role and the shots that he's getting. So we're kind of moving on. I mean, those are kind of our takeaways from the week. We would be remiss, though, if we didn't talk about what's upcoming. Winter is coming. A storm is coming. But
drum roll.
So, of course, we're talking about tomorrow night's game against the Citadel. Wrong. We're going to talk. Look, the Citadel, it'll be a nice test for Duke to see what they're going to present. It's going to be it's an appetizer to the obvious main course. Friday night, little Thanksgiving dessert, if you will. Duke, Gonzaga, Las Vegas, the Sin City. What in the world is going to happen in that? What are your, if you had to bet on who the favorite was, what the opening line, we talked a little bit about this last week, but the opening line is 4.5 right now. Why is that the case? Why is Gonzaga favored, and why are they favored by 4.5? What is the comparison between these two teams?
I'm sorry. I just think Gonzaga is right now at least a better basketball team than Duke is. They've both had one high profile matchup. Gonzaga with taking on Chris Beard and the Longhorns, and then Duke obviously going to Madison Square Garden for Kentucky. I thought Duke looked good against Kentucky. Obviously, there was the issue with the rebound and the 3-point shooting. I just think Gonzaga just dominated Texas. We were watching that game together. Drew Timme, there's a reason that he's the front runner for National Player of the Year. I mean, what did he end with? It was 37. This wasn't against a random preseason team. This was against Texas, who was the number 5 team in the country at the time, and he's putting up 37 points. Gonzaga absolutely manhandled Texas that entire game. And let's preface that too. We haven't even gotten to see Chet have a Chet game yet. And Gonzaga's already looking this
First
good.
game he had 14, 13.
This is true. I will give them. You're right.
The high amount of assists.
Fair.
Blocks.
Fair.
That was against Dixie State. So.
Fair.
Yeah.
What about you, Max? Give me.
That Drew Timme game. I mean, he ragged Texas, and that was like a Pau Gasol-esque footwork display. That was truly remarkable, and he's so tough to stop in the low block. And one thing that they were talking about this on the broadcast is he's very joyful when he's on the court. He loves playing college basketball, which I thought was really really cool to see. I think he's gonna win National Player of the Year. He's a double machine, often 20 and 10. He's just so consistent, and he's just grown into this perfect. I mean, right now he's averaging 21 and 5.3 rebounds, which seems weird. I feel like he should be averaging more, but he's shooting 65% from the field, which is kind of...
There's no rebounds for him to get. He's making all the shots on no offensive boards to pump his numbers.
He could get some defensive rebounds.
A little bit, mix it up a little more.
Maybe Chet is gobbling up all those rebounds.
He's leading the team with 7.2 per game. So Chet is, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I think the Chet versus Paolo narrative, it's going to be coming. All the NBA scouts will be there. I think this game might have some staying power in terms of who gets drafted number 1 overall. These are the two guys. If one of these two doesn't get drafted number 1, you can don't talk to me, because there's no way there are two better prospects for the NBA than these two. And I know there's been some chatter about Paolo's stats, how his production. I think he's been really impressive. He's a very unselfish player. I mean, he's averaging 16 and 8, and he hasn't had he had a great game against Kentucky. He hasn't taken over a game. He took over a game for a minute against Kentucky. He's shooting 56 from the field, 27 from 3. He's got an 82 from the line, which is a big deal. He was a good free throw shooter in high school. But, yeah, that matchup between those two. I don't know if they'll guard each other the whole game. It might be a little bit of Mark Williams switching off onto Chet and Paolo guarding Timmy. Or I think one thing that stands out going in is there could be a little chess match with Coach K going small. They used that small lineup against Campbell. I mean, Gonzaga has guys who can take you off the dribble: Hunter Salas, Nolan Hickman, Andrew Nembhard, who he is more of a half-court guy. He's not he doesn't love to push it. He likes to slow it down a little bit, going back to even his time at Florida. But he's been a really plug-and-play guy for Mark Few. Yeah, and I think those guys that can take you off the dribble might lead to Duke having to go small to just have some length and versatility, being able to switch stuff. So if you... what's a key player to look out for? Not ignore Chet, Paolo, Drew Timme, guy from Gonzaga maybe that you're thinking about. Maybe Nembhard.
Yeah, I was actually gonna go Nembhard. If you won't let me pick Chet, who I'm very much a big fan of the way he can stuff a stat sheet, but I do want to see the way Andrew Nembhard can kind of run an offense against Duke. He's averaging over 5 assists per game, so definitely has proven that he already knows how to do this. But this is the bright lights. This is Las Vegas on Friday night on national TV, and I want to see if Nembhard can keep that kind of poise and composure that he's had before and still be able to steer the ship, obviously with the aid of Timmy and company. But that's my bulldog to key in on, Max.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think for me, from the Gonzaga side, I think Hunter Salas, he came in, he's a freshman guard, kind of a versatile combo guard, but he came in as I think this is the greatest freshman class in Gonzaga history. Chet's the highest rated recruit they've ever gotten. He was number 1, so you can't go much higher than that. But this is adding Salas as well. God. Adding Salas as well, he was a highly rated recruit out of Nebraska. He's only averaging 7 a game and 1.5 rebounds, but he's shooting 55% from the field. He is a guy that can take you off the dribble. He is impressive. He's impressive athletically, and he can pose some problems. I mean, Trevor Keels is probably going to be guarding him, and Trevor Keels, they're probably the same height. Trevor has 60 pounds on him. He's 175 pounds. This is according to Basketball Reference. But he is quick off the dribble, and he can shoot it a little bit. He hasn't really taken many. He hasn't taken many threes. They're really attacking the basket. He's been focusing on the 2-point shot, but he can. I mean, they have guys who can capable of shooting it. It's weird that they really don't. I mean, they have been attacking inside with Timmy and Holmgren. That he's only shooting 0.5. Salas, at least, he's shooting 0.5 3-point attempts per game. So they've played 5-6 games. That's probably 2 total. So yeah, he hasn't made one yet. But so that's why it's a 0%.
That's why he's your X factor.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a guy that could break out, and scouts might start to love him. So, and that's why I think the matchup between the guard play, I think this is the game that Jeremy Roach. This is what they like. This is why Duke built this team, and this is why Jeremy Roach, I think, is just a huge key for this team, is his ability to control the tempo, control the game, get everything organized, get everyone in the right sets. I think is very important for the whole season, but also for this game, because these are two teams that when they have their right stuff, I think these two teams could be meeting again in the Final Four. Obviously, based on how this game plays out, but early returns are very solid for both of these teams, and that's, for me, that's a lot of it's due to the point guard play of Nembhard and Roach on the other side. I know Duke again is taking an all handlers approach, but Roach, there will be times where Roach has to be able to just run the offense himself as the point guard. And his ability to control the tempo and and run pick and rolls with Banchero and Williams and John and find shooters like Moore and Keels, and if Bates Jones is even playing. We'll see, but yeah, I think Jeremy Rozier is really going to be key.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Jeremy because he's a guy that in 5 games this year, he hasn't ever been like the guy in a game, and that's really less about him not playing good, which has not at all been the case. It's just been, I mean, you have Wendell put up a triple-double in the game that Jeremy, it was against Army, right, the triple-double, Max? Yeah, so Jeremy is 50% from the field with 14 points, 4 assists, and 3 boards. And, you know, sorry, Wendell's going to be the guy from that night. And I really just think he's been doing a lot of things, too, that you don't necessarily get the assist for it, but he's attacking the rim, he's driving, he's finding a guy on the perimeter who is then finding another guy. And, you know, sorry, no hockey assists here, but Jeremy is, I think, very, very important to the way this team works. I know his last game, if anyone is going to pull up his box score on me, yes, he did have 0 points against Lafayette. It was his worst game of the season, but still, he's playing 33 minutes. He's got 5 assists. That's a guy that needs to be on the floor for 30, 35 minutes every single game, in my opinion.
There have been times where he's up there with the most minutes on the floor. He played the most minutes against Kentucky. One thing, I don't think we've talked about this at all. Wendell Moore, 17, 6, and 5.
Pretty good.
58% from the field, 35% from 3, 70% from the free throw line, which is actually lower than his career averages, so that'll probably rise. His advanced stats, his per 100 possessions offensive rating is 129, defensive rating 84. Very impressive, getting it done on both ends of the floor. I think I said last week that his defensive rating was worse than last year. I was wrong. I completely misread the stat. His defensive rating is better than last year. That's in part because the team defense is a lot better. But he's getting it done on both ends, and he's really the engine for this team. I think Paolo is obviously their best prospect, and he's their most gifted player. Wendell, I think, again, is hammered it home this week. The way he took over against Lafayette Friday night, to kind of spearhead that second half run, was very impressive.
I gotta pick my key guy though. If you're just Jeremy, I do like Jeremy, but he's not my key for Gonzaga, Max. It's Mark. It's big. It's the big man. If Duke is gonna pull off the upset and beat Gonzaga, Mark is gonna need to be the Mark of the last 2 games on both ends of the floor. I mean, you're not gonna stop Drew Timme. You can contain him, and Mark is gonna need to do his best to make it a long night for Timme. And then I don't know that he needs to have a double on offense, but hanging around in that 8 to 12 point range and still making sure to at least be doing his part and cleaning up the paint and making room for some of his other guys to swoop in and snag a rebound is I think going to be the difference come Friday.
Yeah, that'll be big. That might be the game where Mark Williams has to really take that leap, and he's been showing it. He was really good this week. I thought he was protecting the rim, better in pick and roll, running the floor, more active on the offensive glass. This could have been a preview, but we will see from him against Gonzaga. So that's all we had going in. Obviously, with the rankings coming out tomorrow, the new AP Top 25, Duke is number 7 right now. They will likely go up, considering Villanova's loss. I would assume they go up. I mean, I think Purdue is going to move up there. Purdue was with a big win over at Mohegan Sun. Michigan losing to Seton Hall, so it looks like Duke is probably going to go into the top 5, setting up a top 5 clash with Gonzaga. That's assuming Michigan drops out.
Well, Michigan losing to Arizona.
Michigan lost to Arizona?
Michigan lost to Arizona.
Really?
Michigan went down to Arizona 62-80.
Today? Michigan. I thought they...
Big time.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Apologies, folks. Obviously was not was unaware of this. I thought Michigan had only lost once this week. So yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, Michigan and Villanova, they both have 2 losses. So they will drop out of the top 5. Duke will move in.
Virginia Tech better be in the top 25 this week.
Maybe.
Virginia Tech
they should
needs
be.
to in.
I had them in the top 25. Shout out to the student media poll that we are both voting members of. The better media poll.
That's right.
Done a great job. The guys over at Indiana have been doing a great job with that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and ranking these teams has definitely kept us tuned into college basketball, but apparently not when it came to the Michigan-Arizona score. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. Be sure me and one of our Blue Zone assistant Blue Zone editors and basketball beats, Jonathan Leviton, will be live from Cameron Indoor tomorrow night for Duke's battle with the Citadel, and then our Evan Colin and Cam Polo will be making the treacherous journey out to Las Vegas to cover Duke's battle with Gonzaga Friday night. So stay tuned for all of our coverage this week from DukeChronicle.com, and just keep following along as the season rolls on. So thanks for joining today, Jake. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, Max. Anytime.
All right, thanks for joining, everyone.